Thank you for listening to Lone Star Community Radio. This program was broadcasted and recorded live from the LSCR studios in downtown Conroe, Texas. Lone Star Community Radio is supported by listeners like you. Donate and sponsor today. For more information on getting involved with Lone Star Community Radio, contact us at lscrstudios@gmail.com or visit us online at www.irlonestar.com.
Good morning and welcome to Genuine Business Stories, real conversations with real business owners, kind of like the front porch chats that inspire success. I'm your host, Clint Strom, and today's episode will be extra special to me. I've got somebody on the mic tonight who not only built a great career in marketing and real estate, but has also helped me with this very podcast and to get it off the ground. The one and only Karen the Konnector Hoffman. Karen is a marketing manager over Priority Title and host of the Misunderstood Show. She's got heart for the people, gift for connecting with them, and a story worth listening to. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's drive into Karen's journey. The highs, the lows, the hard lessons, and everything in between. Good morning, Karen.
Good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. I'm so honored to be here.
Hey, I am excited to have you here. Considering the first time I was in this studio, I was on your show, the Misunderstood Show.
I know. It's funny how things come around. And I said you had a face for radio.
I know, right? I'm sure glad that my girlfriend doesn't agree with that.
I didn't mean it that way, of course. I had one of those brain fart moments.
I thought it was funny.
But you have a voice for radio for sure. I wish I had a really cool voice like that.
I'm starting to get a face for Tammy at Revive in our group, who's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks to get some freshen up because I'm getting old.
Do that. She does a hydro facial where she it's like water and it like sucks all the stuff out of your pores, all the dirt and grime and all the gross, and it goes in this little tank so you can actually see it. Well, but your face will look amazing. Amazing. My best photo shoot I've ever had, I did after I did one of those. And it just makes your face glow. It is totally worth it.
Well, the biggest challenge we have, and she told Alicia, my girlfriend, this yesterday when she was in there, she goes, Clint will not shave his beard in order to come in and get some stuff done.
Well, she can go around your beard, though.
Oh, not where we talked to her about work. She's like, you're going to have to shave your beard.
Oh.
So.
Anyway. Well, you can just do the.
Oh, no, I'm going to get the.
Are you really?
Yeah, at some point in time. Anyway.
My dad never shaved his beard either. Like, he never shaved his beard. He would not. I don't even know what he would look like without a beard.
I had a mustache for the first part of my life. Then I had a goatee.
So that was my stepdad that had the beard. He's the country boy. My biological dad, my real dad, he had the mustache in the 70s, the 70s mustache. And my friends are like, is he a Cuban drug lord? The collar open, button down. Yeah.
So Karen, where did your professional journey start and what led you to the marketing side?
Well, I would say I started out in Girl Scouts. I started selling cookies. I was #1 cookie seller in my region. I still have my sash and my little badge to prove it. I actually ran into a little Girl Scout the other day and she was like, oh, I have that too. And I was like, no way. So,
well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're why all of our freezers are full of chocolate mint cookies.
Yeah. Yeah. People would say, oh, I already bought some. I'm like, but you didn't buy any from me. And they would say, oh, okay. And then they would buy some from me. And then as I got a little older and I wasn't in Girl Scouts anymore, I actually moved in with my father in Austin in 1990. And I needed to make some money. My dad was a single dad and he had lost his job at AMD and he was looking for a job and I needed money for whatever, And so I started selling blow pops and fireballs. He would go to Sam's and he was like, I'm going to give this to you. This is how I'm going to get you started. But then after that, it's all you. You got to buy your own product with the money you make, yada, yada. And that's what I started doing. I started selling blow pops and fireballs. And then I would take some of that money and go buy more. And then the rest of the money I would usually blow at like the flea market because we always went to the flea market. There's always something cool there. I bought this shirt one time. It said "New Kids Under the Block," and it had a picture of a building. And their legs were coming out, and there was like blood coming down. It was so weird, but I was 11, so.
It sounds like you have been in sales since you could start walking. So what led you into the title
I
industry?
think that when you're young, we were poor, you just got to hustle. And I also am an overachiever, I think, naturally. I want to be the best. I'm a people pleaser. So, I want to do good. My mother was my troop leader, so I wanted to be the best. And when selling cookies. And then with my dad, it was just, I wanted to make money. And he was very encouraging. And then, then I started babysitting for several years. That was not my favorite job at all.
That's surprising. You're so good with your kids.
I love kids, but I had one kid that was awful to me, and I love his mother to death. She was best friends with my mother, but he was a little turd, and he didn't want to listen to me. He wouldn't brush his teeth. He would go in the bathroom and splash water on his hair and come out and act like he took a bath. And I'm like, seriously, like, you have to go take a bath. I mean, we did have good times, don't get me wrong, but I didn't like that part. I just want to play with the kid. Like, I like to play with kids and have fun. I don't want to discipline them. That's why I struggle as a parent, is I don't like disciplining at all. It makes me feel bad. I don't like conflict. I just want to have fun all the time, and you can't do that. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be a very good parent. Right now, I don't get to be their friend. I can't wait till I can be their friend. I'm at that phase where for so long, I was like, I don't ever want them to grow up. I don't ever want them to move out. And now I'm like, I'm kind of ready. I'm kind of ready for them to fly the coop and be on. I mean, not really, but I'm a little burned out by the talking back and the attitude and the teens. My kids are really good kids, but I mean, really, am blessed how we do have amazing kids. They are not your. I have friends that are struggling with their kids doing things that are way worse, right? But it's still a struggle, You have kids. You've been there.
My goodness. I've got a grown daughter.
Yeah.
A son-in-law, a grandchild, and another one on the way. So.
Yeah. But do you remember those days?
Yeah, but I think probably the difference is my daughter's always been my world, but I viewed it also.
Girl.
Yeah, but I also viewed it as had a job to do, so I did not mind the discipline and structure because it wasn't ever because I was upset. It
Right.
was, and it wasn't. There were various ways. My daughter received discipline so well when she was a kid that it was kind of like, okay, what can I do to get her attention? But she was such a good kid. The parents, we're not happy when our kids give us that angry look whenever, and mouth. Well, my daughter was so easy to correct that it was like, show me a little emotion that you're upset I'm correcting. And it's like, no, sir, I understand.
I have some strong-willed children. I've had to read the book, Strong-Willed Child. I don't know if you ever read that. James Dobson wrote it. Anyway, yeah.
I think he talked to my parents as he was writing that about raising me.
Oh, so you were one of those. I had
my dad too.
One of my children, I mean, when he was like 3, I would be like, hey, you need to pick up the toys in your room. And he didn't want to do it. So he just peed on all of them.
Yep.
Or, he would tell me his back hurt. And I was like, what? He's like, my back hurts. I'm like, your back doesn't hurt. You're 3. Very rebellious. I spanked him a couple times when he was young. It didn't work. He would turn around and look at me and be like, that didn't hurt. And I'm not going to spank him to the point where I hurt him. That didn't work for him. I had to find ways that motivated him. And I did. And it worked out. And he just turned 17. He's a good kid. He still makes mistakes and he still tests the limits. But overall, he's a good kid.
That sounds like you're raising an entrepreneur.
He is already an entrepreneur. He
See?
has a little landscape business already, and he's doing really what he's doing. He's switching to online school so he can work full time and pursue his career, and we'll see where it goes. I really want him to at least do some college at Lone Star, at least get like a 2-year associates of some sort. So we've talked about that. He can live at home and go to school and work. But yeah, so after all that growing up, my first job was at Schlitterbahn. It was not for me. I was a lifeguard. I stared at water all day and blew a whistle and screamed at kids again. And I was just, that's not for me. I want to be in the water playing with the kids. I did save a kid, though. That made me very proud. I just went to Schlitterbahn this summer again and saved some kids.
Well, that's good.
The lazy river at Surfenberg. When I was 16, I saved a little boy from almost drowning. They used to have a bunch of alligators and tubes, and they would get jumbled up in this one area, and the kids would fall off and they couldn't get up. And I saw him go under, and his mom was yelling, and I was actually playing in the park off that day, and I saved him, and his mother was so grateful, of course, and he was so freaked out. We just went again, and a couple of kids got separated from their parents. His dad's like, "Oh, you're fine, you're fine." I'm like, "This kid's drowning, dude. Like, he's not fine." Or she's not. I think that was the girl. But there was a boy and a girl. I had to scoop them up, and these parents they don't put their kids in life jackets. It's just, I can't be around it. Luckily, there's not a lot of drownings at Schlitterbahn. I just happened to see it before the lifeguards, caught on.
Yeah.
But we don't want to get to that point, right? Maybe God just puts me in the right place at the right time, but that was not my favorite job. I left there and I worked at fast food chicken place in Coleman, Texas. It smelled like chicken. I didn't eat fried chicken for like 10 years.
I want to take a quick pause in this. So were you at the New Braunfels location at the Schlitterbahn?
Yeah, that was the only location.
Do you have family in the hill
then.
country? I was thinking that.
Well, I'm from Canyon Lake.
That's what I thought. So this is leading me to a more serious subject.
So my parents are from Canyon Lake. Even my parents were the first graduating class of Smithson Valley High School. My dad was, and my mother was the second. All my aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers all went to Smithson Valley.
So how is your family with the devastation that we've seen in the hill country with the flooding?
So none of my family lives in any of those areas. My father's in Lampasas now with one of my brothers, and they're in town up on a hill. They're fine.
Good.
Obviously surrounded by flooding. My two of my other brothers, one's in Bulverde. They're up on a hill. They're fine. They're away from the river. The other one is in San Antonio. One of my brothers passed away, so he's not there anymore. But my aunt and uncle live by the lake, but the lake's not flooding. The lake's still I think it's 65% or something. It's still low. It's the river banks that are flooded. It's mostly upriver. The downriver has, been fine, but it's mostly like the Lampasas River, the Llano. I think the Frios had quite a bit of flooding. I don't know how bad it is, but it's mostly
the Comal or Guadalupe.
The Comal did flood for a day, but it's fine. I mean, it came and went. It's the upper Guadalupe, Kerrville, Hunt. That's all that's like an hour north, or actually probably an hour and a half north of Canyon Lake. It's like an hour north of Bulverde. We were staying with a friend of mine 4th of July in Bulverde, which is she lives actually right next to Bergheim. It's about an hour from Kerrville. We took my son for his 17th birthday to Whitewater Amphitheater in Canyon Lake. Didn't rain on us at all. I mean, it sprinkled for a minute, but it was muddy, but it was fine. And no rain. Canyon Lake got like an inch and a half that day. But that's when Kerrville got all the flooding. And so we got up the next morning, went to Kerrville. It wasn't raining in Kerrville that day, Saturday. It was raining in New Braunfels. So it flip-flopped. Where we were, it wasn't raining. It was raining over here. And then when we went over there, it was raining over here. It was funny because we kept missing it, thank goodness. But we went and helped out in Kerrville for a day. We didn't do a whole lot, but we did what we could. And it was sad. There were some moments I got choked. I'm trying not to get choked up. It affects me. It's personal because my boys went to scout camp and hunt. I have friends that live in Kerrville. My preacher's son lives in Kerrville. One of my friends I grew up with, a very dear friend of mine that took care of me after my car wreck, and I was in a wheelchair and I had to help with the bathroom. He was on a work program, and he would come help me and feed me and take me to the bathroom. And it was kind of weird because I was 18 and so was he, and you didn't really want people to see you go in the bathroom. But he painted my toenails for me. I ran into him in Kerrville that day. And so it affects you, and they're all fine, but you see how it's affecting all these people. And there's so many people in the Houston community, even Wood Forest. I have a lender, her best friend, and her entire family was wiped out. It was just, it hurts your heart to see people that you love, and just, it's just devastating. And I've been through a lot of floods in the hill country, a lot. And I was there in 2002 documenting. I have all the pictures in a photo album back in the day when you printed photos and put them in a photo album. I have pictures of it getting up to the spillway, trees going over the spillway, creating the gorge. I have all of that. I was there in 98. I was actually stuck in a flood in 98. And we had to pull over on the side of the road. We went through a place and it was lower than we thought. The water was higher than we thought. Because the road at night, what people don't understand is when you're driving on the road at night and there's water over it, it just looks like the road. You don't realize that it's a dip because that water, you can't really see it. It just looks like part of the road. And we went through it and it got the engine wet and the engine wouldn't start. I guess it got the starter wet or something. And so we had to pull over into a parking lot and we kept trying. We were there for hours. And I probably just the rain and the moisture and just wasn't drying out. So, and then obviously the next day, I was in Lavernia when it started flooding in 98. I was dating this guy over there and they started evacuating the whole town. It was scary for me. I was 18. I was like, what's happening? I'd never been through anything like that. In 87, I was so young. And that didn't really affect us so much at the lake as much as it did Kerrville, right? They made a movie about it. It was this whole ordeal. It was kind of like what just happened, but not quite as bad. But they had a huge flood in 87. And I mean, they made a movie about it. It was so bad. And it was called The Flood. Who's Going to Save Our Children or something like that. Anyway, when I went to Kerrville this time, it looked like a tsunami hit it. I've never seen the water that wide, that high, ever. I've seen houses float down the river. I've seen cars. I've seen refrigerators. I've seen all kinds of stuff and trees. But this looks like Armageddon. I mean, it is like you see giant trees that are 50, 60 years old, completely ripped out of the ground and intertwined with each other like somebody just took sticks and twisted them, intertwined with a car or bus even. Just, I mean, it's buried entire, like, King Ranch trucks are buried in the mud completely. Yeah. And it's like that movie. They made a movie about that tsunami and that family got separated. Mm-hmm. And they all actually ended up finding each other at the end. It's a true story.
Yeah, I watched it.
That's what this reminds me of. This is how bad it was in Kerrville. People don't understand too, like there's all this blame game. Look, there's no reason to blame anybody. It is what it is. What happened. Let's learn from our mistakes. Let's put some sirens up that the state keeps denying them. The sirens, like, let's get sirens. Why are you denying us sirens? It's ridiculous. They could have sounded sirens that probably could have saved a lot of people. People are not reading their text messages at 4:00 in the morning. And those kids, even the counselors, they're 18 years old, 20 years old, in these cabins. They take their phones away, and people are like, well, they can't take their phones away. They need their phones taken away. They need a break. I take my kids' phones away when we go on trips. I take my kids' phones away all the time. We need screen time. We need a break, right? We live without phones for thousands and thousands of years.
I remember going to church camp without a phone.
I mean, we didn't have phones.
Exactly.
It wasn't even invented. I mean, we had wall phones. That was it. Maybe the really rich people had like a bag phone in their car or something. But
we've got to remember the families and the kids in prayers.
But this water came up in areas that they never even imagined. They didn't think they were going to get the water. Even when they're getting flood warnings, they're not thinking it's going to get to that level. They think that they're safe. And so that's what people just don't understand is it came so fast. They're saying that it was 26 feet in 45 minutes, but there's areas that they're now proving that was over 30 feet in less than 30 minutes. That's a wall of water, like a tsunami, that you cannot avoid. You don't even know it's coming.
Yeah.
Till it's coming.
Prayers,
it's too late.
Prayers for the families. What brought you from Hill Country to the Magnolia, Conroe, Woodlands, Montgomery area?
My husband. So we'll go back to my career. I did all the high school things. Got out of high school. I had a really bad car wreck. I lost a track scholarship because I broke my femur, ripped it out of my hip socket, wrecked my back. I was wrecked. I was not going to play sports anymore. And I was very dependent on that. And I was very angry with God. I questioned God. I questioned if there was a God. But I always had my faith. I knew, even though I was mad at him, I didn't understand. I'd ask my grandma, why would this happen to me? She said, God's preparing you for something greater. And that's always stuck with me. And it's kind of like encouraging. At the same time, it's kind of like, that's a big responsibility. You know, like I clearly have a purpose here. I should have died. And everybody's like, you're a miracle. You're a walking miracle when I was younger. You know, everybody that was there, I had friends on scene. One of my good friends, actually, that's here in Conroe. He's from Canyon Lake. He was on scene during my wreck. He was a brand new volunteer fireman. I moved to the Woodlands. I invite him to my house, and he's like, wait, is that the house you just moved into? And I said, yeah, that's the house he just moved out of. That's weird and crazy story.
That is weird.
So anyway.
He wasn't a squatter, right? He owned the house.
No, he had just moved out, and then we moved in. And so just a strange, life is strange. And so it brought me to, I was out one day just looking for a job, trying to survive. And I walked into my insurance office, and they said, you know, why y'all dressed up? And I said, oh, I'm looking for a job. And she's like, you should apply here. And I'm like, I don't know anything about insurance. She's like, we can train you. And I'm like, okay. So I applied, and I got a job in insurance, my very first job. My friend Jennifer Rogers, we're friends to this day. We started the same day. We were roommates for a while. I mean, we've been through life. And she was actually there when my brother passed. And so she's seen me absolutely at my worst. But anyway, I did insurance, but I didn't really like it. I'm not as you know, tied behind the desk, boring paperwork kind of girl. I love change, and that I've moved around a lot. I'm not afraid of anything. I just kind of like, moved here, I've moved there, I've done all kinds of stuff. People are like, you've done so many things. I was a photographer for 10 years. I've been published in Rolling Stone and Music Fest magazine and all different things, newspapers and local magazines. And I've done over 70 weddings, and it's just, it's been a ride, but I worked in insurance. I didn't like it. I went into photography.
With insurance, if you were stuck doing home and auto, it's not fun. And especially
and
not with your
risk.
Personality.
Yeah.
The commercial insurance that I do, it
Way
puts
better.
me interactive with
Yeah.
businesses all the time. And it's a lot more fun than being tied behind that desk that can drive a salesperson nuts.
Well, when I was 20, 21, I moved into the house I grew up into, which was owned by my grandparents. And my parents had done it was one of those houses, Mod Podge. My granddad did some remodeling, and my parents did some remodeling, and they did some more remodeling. It was just kind of this random, and I really wanted to finish it. And because the house it was actually originally a single wide trailer home from the 60s, the metal ones that had the rollout windows, that my granddaddy had tore off one end and built a house, and then they still had the other half. It was so weird looking that I think about it now. And then my parents tore off the other half of the trailer and built the house. It was crazy living in the one side. They had plastic across it when they just tore it off. And then we just lived in one half, and why would they built the other half? And through all of that, I just loved making things new and pretty. And I really wanted to flip houses. That was my dream out the gate. I just always wanted to do that. I didn't know how I was ever going to, still to this day want to do it. I've done a lot of work to houses I've lived in, but I've never got to actually do that. That's kind of my dream job. So of course it drew me to real estate. And when I was doing photography for 10 years, I got really burned out. I have arthritis really bad in my hand from my car wreck. I have a broken bone still here. I have ruptured disc, 4 bulging, 2 annular tears, 4 bulging. My hip is all wrecked. My knee,
you do a great
my
job,
foot.
always keeping a smile on your face.
Thank you. But photographers work physically demanding job. They work so hard. They're moving, they're squatting, they're moving, they're squatting, they're doing this, they're doing that. And they're holding a 12-pound camera. And I couldn't hold it around my neck because of my neck issues. Now I need to get one of those shoulder strap things. But now I'm starting to get back into it because I just got burned out, I think. I was doing all these weddings, which I just was over.
When you do something for a living, it's not as much fun as when you do it as a hobby.
I do miss doing all the artists, the musicians, and and lifestyle photos for people and senior photos for kids. And I love doing that. I feel like that's more artistic. I have control over that. When you're doing weddings and events and things, it's not really the same. It's not but that's where the money's at. And that's where I was having to make money. And that's what I did. And I had to survive. My ex-husband quit his job in 2013. He was out of work for many, many, many months. And so I was having to make ends meet. And that's when I really started doing a lot of weddings. And I kind of got stuck in it for a while because he started a new job and he's not making very much money. So I had to make ends meet. And we were living in an RV and trying to get out of our hole. And
weddings to me would be the most challenging because it is
so stressful.
Yes, and
people
everybody
are
looking for
protection.
Yes, and they're looking for perfection.
Well, I've had mother-in-laws that have been mean to me. I've had brides been mean to me. The bridezillas. I had one bridezilla. I've had a wedding planner who was super mean. I mean, just awful. Just barking at everybody. Just rude. I'm like, I'm here to have a good time and help. And I always go the extra mile. I carried this little bag, an emergency bag. I had safety pins and thread and the things you put on your face to like soak up the oil. They're like these little sheets of, they're almost like paper. I carried lip gloss. I carried a little bag that would have all this stuff. I mean, there was a bride one time, she was having just a horrible time. She got her makeup done. She hated it, and she hated her hair and her makeup. She did not like the way they did it. She decided to strip it all and redo it and just do it herself. But she needed help. And I ended up helping her with her hair and her makeup. And I mean, that's not my job. But, I see this bride, she's crying, and I wanted her to be happy and be pretty and have a good day. And so I just end up helping her. And those are the moments that I truly enjoyed. And just, there are some weddings that the people, you could just tell they love each other so much. And you're like, it's just so beautiful. A wedding I did, young couple, now living here in Conroe, go to church here in Conroe. I went to visit them one day. They got like 4 kids. They went to church with me, and I'm friends with her parents, and her dad owns this place called Abel's Diner in Schertz, Texas. If you haven't been, it's the best biscuits, homemade food, just out of the kitchen. It's a thing called Chicken Oscar he makes. It's so good. It's like chicken with hollandaise sauce and asparagus.
Sounds good.
Oh, it's amazing. Anyway, so I ended up getting out of that, and I was trying to figure out what to do to get out of real estate or how to get out of photography where I'm not having to do it full time. I really just got burned out. I wasn't even taking pictures of my kids anymore for a while, which there's like a gap, because I was just so burned out. My ex-husband was like, oh, you can make so much money if you do real estate. It's flexible. It's not really that flexible, by the way. It's very demanding. You're at the mercy of other people and when they're available and when they can go see a house or when they can meet you for a listing appointment or whatever. But because I already had this history of clientele with insurance, all my insurance people would always follow me. And when I was in photography, everybody kind of followed me. I started out on MySpace with photography and all my friends on there. And then I went to Facebook, and then all the friends get on there, and it just, they kind of followed me. So I decided to get a real estate license in 2017. That's when I made the decision. I was licensed by 2018. Right out the gate. I mean, people were waiting for me to get my license to list their house. It was cool. I was like, I don't even really know what I'm doing, but I guess they just trusted me. They knew I'd show up. They knew I'd go the extra mile. They knew I cared. And I had an amazing mentor who made sure I didn't make mistakes and did everything correctly, right? That's the important part. You got to make sure your realtor either knows what they're doing or has somebody who knows what they're doing that's watching and helping.
I think with most businesses, it's prudent that you have a mentor, somebody to go to.
Right.
I have several business owners that I go to just to bounce ideas off of. And several that come back to me where we discuss it and then go make the decision.
Right. Well, and that's why I like to, people say, you're a real estate expert. No, nobody's a real estate expert. You can be doing this for 30 years and you're never going to know everything. And I had a guy yesterday who was talking about, was it yesterday? Maybe it was Friday. All my days blur together. But he was talking about how the industry is just so different now. That it's like learning all over again. I mean, you're constantly, that's what I love, is that it's never boring. It's never boring. Real estate's never boring. There's always some crazy story. There's some crazy history. on the deed. There's liens. Sometimes we run into things I'm like, oh my, we've never seen before. I mean, I've had escrow officers who've been doing this 30 years and we'll run into something. They're like, I've never seen this. I love that. And then of course it's just always changing. It's evolving, but at the same time, it's always the same. People always are going to need land. When it comes to it, we're not making more land. There's never going to be more land. What we have is what we have. And I 100% believe in investing in land. I think it's the greatest investment of your life is to invest in land. If I could give advice to anybody, if I could go back 25 years ago, I would have got a real estate license instead of a P&C license or a life insurance license. And I would have got a real estate license and I would have invested all of my money in dirt and flipping. But I was young and I wanted to have fun. I wanted to dress cute and I wanted to travel and I wanted to do all these things.
You still dress cute.
Well, thank you. I do it very frugally. If I do spend extra money, it's because I'm supporting like a local business, a friend, a boutique, But I'm also like, I don't like to wear synthetic fiber. So I'm always trying to buy cotton, which supports my husband's family farm because they grow cotton.
So where's your husband's family farm?
By San Angelo. It's a small industrial farm. I say small, depends on who you are. In the industrial world, it's small. In my world, it's huge. I used to think 15 acres was so much land. 15 acres to them is like a backyard.
My grandfather was a farmer, so my dad grew up on a farm.
Right. You got to have a lot of land to be profitable. And he's a third generation. His dad inherited or bought the family farm from his siblings. Then he bought neighboring farms, and then he bought other farms. And so his dad is really the one who grew this thing. Hansel Hoffman Farms. And they lived on nothing. His mother just got central air and heat in 2020. She just got new carpet in 2021, I think. She had still the
Did they
original...
have an attic cooling fan that circulated the air?
I don't think so. No, they just had like a window unit in the bedroom. I think maybe they had a swamp cooler at one time. I'm not sure. But she still had lime green wool carpet in the house when I met my husband in 2020. There was a spot where his dad sat for 40 years and it had worn a hole in it. And she just put a chair over it.
I like that. That's creative.
But now she has new carpet. She put new carpet. She put new windows. She got central air because he had Alzheimer's. And then he eventually passed. And she just couldn't live that way anymore. It wasn't comfortable for her. She deserved it. But he just lived so frugally that he wouldn't spend money on anything. And because as a farmer, you just never know.
And
you have droughts, you have floods, and that floods will ruin your crop. Drought will ruin your crop. Locusts will ruin your crop. Lightning will ruin your crop. Windmills will ruin your crop. People are putting windmills on their farms and not realizing that they'll catch the whole field on fire. They have fires all the time. And what they pay out to the farmers for these fires is ridiculous. Pay them, $10 or $15 an acre.
Mm. So what led you to Priority?
So I got into real estate. When I first started in real estate, I was already kind of also into landscaping. I love yard work and making things pretty. I just love to make things pretty, right? I like to make my house pretty. I like to make my yard pretty. I love growing plants. I love dirt. When I was a kid, I grew up playing in the dirt. I just love that feeling. I love getting dirty. And I had landscaped my own yard, and I had people ask me, can you help me in the neighborhood? So I started helping a few people in the neighborhood, and I was doing real estate. And then I was just like, I would tell my real estate people, when I come to their house to do their listing appointment, and this was right out the gate, first year. And hey, I felt like I could offer landscaping in them to get the listing. And so I would be like, hey, I'll do your mulch, I'll trim your trees, because it didn't cost me much. It was just labor. I'll do all that. And so I started doing the landscaping and real estate side by side. And before I knew it, within a year, I was doing $100,000 landscape jobs. It was way over my head. I was YouTubing how to do things. I was asking my nursery, my materials people. Luckily, one of my good friends was a landscape architect. She did these beautiful designs, and she was helping me out with doing the designs, but she didn't know how to install it, run crews, all this stuff. I was trying to figure out. I had this amazing man I used to go to this place called The Loft. It was a coffee shop. My husband keeps telling me I need to open one here. Maybe I will. But it was this beautiful nonprofit coffee shop from the church, and they had a food bank, which was great during COVID. We were handing out food like crazy. I volunteered in there, but we had this table. It's a really long farmhouse table, and all these old men every morning would sit there, and you would be perfect. I need to take you one day. We need to go take a trip to the hill country. I'm going to take you to the loft, and we're going to go sit. They call it the table of knowledge, and there's a bunch of old retired men that sit in there in the morning. They drink coffee. A lot of them are pilots and different things, but there's this guy Archie. This man is just kind of, he's had brain cancer and all kinds of stuff, and he just keeps going. And he's running tractors, and he's a John Deere tractor. I'm telling him I need somebody to help me with moving the rocks, because the guy I had was horrible. And sometimes I have 2 jobs going on at a time, 3 jobs going on at a time, so I needed help. He's like, oh, I'll come help you. And I'm like, looking at him, he's like 70-something years old. Is he going to be able to handle this in the middle of the summer? Oh, yeah, he's fine. He helped me build a French drain underneath a concrete sidewalk. He got through that thing. I don't know how. Everybody was trying. Nobody could get through it. We used all kinds of tools. Try not to crack it was this multi-million-dollar home on Canyon Lake, right by Party Cove. I landscaped the whole place, but they needed a French drain to redirect the water because it was flooding into their garage. And whoever, these people that build houses and driveways, and they just don't even think about drainage. I've learned all about drainage. My husband's the expert. I actually met him during that time, was going to hire him. That's how we kind of met. He came and looked at the job and was like, he gave me some advice, and that's really the person, him and Archie saved me. Anyway, through all of that, doing real estate, doing landscaping, I was working like 80 hours a week. My kids, dragging them around through COVID, dragging my friends' kids around with me. I had 5 boys with me in my Tahoe at any given time.
And I bet you never realized that starting the landscaping part would lead to your one true love.
My son now does that, and he's doing listings, and I'm so proud of him. I mean, he just turned 17, so his communication is off. People still have to call me. Hey, he's not answering. He's learning. He's getting better. But, it's baby steps. But, I mean, he gets out there, he works, he does the job, he's dependable, he gets his friends out there. I'm proud of him. Yeah, it's a lot more than a lot of other kids his age are doing. And he's getting his friends to do it too, which I think is he's a great role model for them, But anyway, I was working a lot, and, Casey and I, over time, got more serious. Excuse me, after a year or so, year and a half, he was like, I don't know if I can be with somebody who works 80 hours a week. And it's just, he's very family oriented. And I had gotten a job offer from a title company. I was struggling with balancing everything. I struggled in my landscaping too. Even though he ended up getting another job eventually, he was just trying to find work during COVID to make extra money because he couldn't find a job. He got a job. He's way overqualified for what I was doing, having him do. And he has, 2 degrees from TCU and Tarleton and all, So I was very lucky to get him for the time I had him. But, my crew members didn't really want to listen to me, and I'm a girl, and you have to hire Hispanic people, Mexicans, because...
And you're nice.
I am nice.
I'm not saying you're not firm, but your disposition comes across as nice and caring.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's just their culture. It's just their culture. They don't take women bossing them around very kindly. They don't look at you in the eye. They don't want to shake your hand. So it's hard for me to lead them. And that was the hardest part of my landscaping, was that part. So I was struggling with that. I couldn't decide. I needed to pick one or the other. I needed to pick either landscaping or real estate. I couldn't keep doing both. It was killing me. And I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. And real estate was I already saw that it was going to start taking a turn for the worse. Also, there was this crazy thing where people were paying $50,000 to $100,000 over asking. And I was not willing to get people to do that. I felt like it was wrong. I felt like it was unethical. I knew that it was going to put them in a bad position, which is now what I'm seeing is it was bad because people that paid $50,000 to $100,000 over asking are stuck in their homes and they're drowning because inflation, cost of living, insurance has gone way up, taxes have gone way up, everything has gone so far up, and they maxed out, and then they spent all this money over asking. They can't sell their house for what they owe on it, and they can't get out of it, and they're drowning, and we're getting cash out refis so that people can pay off their debt because they're drowning. And that's the position I didn't want to put people in. So I decided to leave and go into title. Plus, even though I didn't know we were going to move here, we were talking actually about moving to like Seguin or somewhere east of New Braunfels or even Brenham to be halfway between, because my kid's dad is still in Spring Branch. If people don't, not Spring Branch, Houston people, Spring Branch, Texas, the real Spring Branch, which is by Canyon Lake. Actually, part of Spring Branch is on Canyon Lake. So a lot of people don't know that, but Rebecca Creek, where the river feeds into the lake, that's Spring Branch. That's not actually the town of Canyon Lake, right? The address is Spring Branch. So anyway, he lives over there in our house that, we lived in. And I miss that house. I miss that neighborhood. I miss the river and, this beautiful custom hill country home, limestone. It was just amazing home. But it was hard for me to leave that area. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. I'm a river rat. I'm a Laker. Lakers forever. And my friend was texting me the other day. He's like, you'll be a Laker forever. I'm like, I know. He's like, are you ever moving back? I'm like, no, probably moving to the farm from here. He's like, we'll be a Laker forever. I'm like, I definitely will. So I apologize. I have it on silent, but it still makes noise. And it's a scam likely. So anyway, we were trying to move somewhere between that would make sense for the kids or for everybody. But the more we looked into it, and honestly, hopefully, I don't think my ex listens to this show because I'm pretty sure he hates my guts. So, my kids actually were the ones who had said, why don't we just move? They really liked the woodlands. They thought it was cool. They loved the trees and the lake, and my stepkids were here, and they love my stepkids. That is the biggest blessing, is our kids love each other so much. They always want to be together. And they wanted to be here. And they felt also like my husband, Casey, is such a great dad that they wanted him to be close to to his kids. And so we decided to go ahead and move all the way here. But during that time of deciding where we're going to move, my thing was, even if I moved to Seguin, Seguin would be close enough, but if I moved out to Brenham or somewhere out there, I don't know anybody. And I'd have to start all the way back over with real estate or landscaping or whatever I'm doing. I felt like if I got a job in title, and then I could transfer. So I took this job with Old Republic Title because they have offices all over the place. And I asked them, if I get a job here and I decide to move somewhere else, is it possible for me to transfer? They said, absolutely. So I took this job, and we ended up deciding to move all the way here. And they were like, oh yeah, we could probably get you. Well, when they came down to me moving here, they had a huge management blow up or something in Montgomery County area. And they moved a bunch of people around during that time and decided, and real estate was kind of going down. So they decided not to hire me or not to let me transfer. So I had to find a new job. And I was like, oh, seriously? So I just kind of planned. We weren't 100% sure what we were going to do, really. I was just talking to them about it, like my options, and kind of like in secret. I mentioned at the coffee shop with Archie and them, one of the wives of one of the men, she comes to coffee. She worked for Fidelity Title for like 40 years. I mentioned her, and then I mentioned to my really good friend over at Capital Title that I was talking about possibly moving to the Woodlands. Maybe. Well, they started telling people over here, hey, this girl, she might be moving over there. You need to call her. She's amazing. And I just love them. They're the greatest. You know, those are the people that really know me. They've known me my whole life. That's where my reputation is. I feel like over here, like people still don't really know me, you know, not like they do over there. And she's, not that I'm the greatest. I'm not perfect. Okay. But I try to be the best I can. You know, I try to take care of people, and I try to, you know, I care about people. And I think that at the end of the day, you don't have to be perfect. You can make mistakes, but as long as you care about people, that's what really matters.
Yeah. Karen, let's briefly touch on priority now, because I want to get to your podcast, and we are.
Well, that's what I was, sorry, it's a long story. I just, you know, my whole success story is very long and complicated, how I ended up here. So I, you know, took the job here, and unfortunately I've been through some not so fun transitions with title companies making decisions that were completely out of my control. And so I landed at Priority.
That sounds like that's a really good fit for you.
Yeah, I think they offer a great service. They have things that other title companies don't offer. They have 48-hour turnaround on title commitment, which is, I've never heard of anybody else having that. They have funding till 5:30. Nobody else in the state of Texas has that. That's about 2 hours later. So they don't have people being pushed to the next day. They don't have closings that are delayed, things like that. They also have nationwide mobile closers that are free, or I say no charge. We're not supposed to say free, apparently. I don't know. No charge. And they train them, and they use scan docs. And so your documents are uploaded immediately to the company. And so they have a quick turnaround. So, you know, you're getting paid quickly, which everybody loves that. Everybody likes to get their keys. Everybody wants to get funded. Realtors want to get paid. Lenders want to get paid. Everybody wants to get paid. And so it, you know, it's great. And then for refinances and new construction, there's no escrow fee. And we don't ever charge tax certificate fees. We don't upcharge state fees. If you look at your fee chart, your fees from one title company and compare them to ours, I'm going to say 95% of the time, we're going to beat them, and we're going to have a faster turnaround. Our customer service is on par with anybody else. I mean, everybody, you know, has great customer service. I mean, everywhere I've worked, we all strive to have great customer service. Every title company strives to have great customer service. If you're not striving to have great customer service, you're not going to be in business. You know, that's a given customer service, right? Everybody should have that. But when you're actually offering true value to people and you're making it very convenient for everybody, included the client, you look like a hero. You're saving them money, you're saving them time, convenience, all of it. Everybody's getting paid quickly. Being able to fund until 5:30, all these things, having a title commitment in 2 days instead of 2 weeks is a game changer, because the buyer knows what they're getting into in 2 days. They haven't paid for inspection. They haven't paid for appraisal. They haven't paid for all these things. When you get the title commitment back and it's like, oh, there's $150,000 child support lien, they don't have any money. Well, we don't want to find out about that after they've paid for all these things, because they're out of that money. And if it doesn't close, the buyer loses all that time and money wasted. And I just feel like if we can do it, everybody else can do it. And we need to raise the bar and the standard for title companies. They just need to change. The reason we're able to do that is because we use mobile closers, and our escrow officers aren't tied up in closing rooms. They don't need to be in the closing room. They need to be doing their job.
So the closers will come to you?
We have mobile closers. So like a mobile notary, they're trained. They come wherever. So as long as it's not a cash out refi or something like that where we have to close at like an attorney's office or a bank or a title company, we can come to your house and close. The realtor can come to the house and do a whole photo op with the key and, you know, bring them champagne, and it's just convenient for them. Or most people are in transition. They might be moving from another town. We can go to that town. We can go to that state. We can go all 50 states and go close for them. We also do online mobile closings, so they can close online. Now, those are strict. There's a lot of qualifications, because we have to make sure that there's not fraud, because there's so much fraud. If you're not going through a title company, guys, I know that y'all think it's expensive, but look, we do a lot of work and we get paid on the premium. We're not charging a lot of fees, and so we're not making money on that end. That's why we don't have brick and mortar on every corner, because we don't have to pay for that. We're trying to save you money and be more logical about the situation and how we do things. But we make money on the premium. Every title company in the state of Texas gets charged the same premium to the client. It's all set in stone. There's a fee chart. It's always going to be the same for every single house. If your house is $200,000, it's going to cost this much for your premium, no matter where you close. Every title company gets paid 15% on every deal. It's all the same. It's set by the Texas Department of Insurance. It's set in stone. It's fair. We get paid on that premium. So, at the end of the day, what matters is how are we efficient? Are we just blowing money? Are we having Botox parties and going on cruises? Or are we doing business? I'm very rational, and I want to make money and spend time with my family. I know everybody wants all this stuff, but at the end of the day, what matters is what's best for your client and your fiduciary duty to your client. And I don't think your client would appreciate them getting charged more money and having to drive downtown to close on their new construction in Willis because you want to go on a cruise or have a Botox party. And I know I'm probably going to piss some people off right now, but I really don't care, because that's the truth. And I think it's wrong. And I don't agree with it. And since I've been in title, I've been asked to do a lot of these things, and I've said no. And I don't even really like happy hours. I'll do them on occasion because I do want to celebrate wins, and I appreciate my clients, and I do want to show them my appreciation. But I think showing my appreciation is shown by answering my phone, going above and beyond, being honest. Those are the things that really matter at the end of the day. This is a business. This is not a party. And until we start really trying to do what's right instead of we think everybody's going to make them like us. I don't know, Clint. I hit 45 this year, and I just got the efforts. And after everything I've been through this year with my son and my job, I just don't care anymore. I don't care what people think. I know that I am doing what's right by God. All I care about is going to heaven at the end of the day. Do I want to look cute? Yeah. Do I like people to like me? Of course. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. I can't take that to my grave. Jesus is coming, and I want to go with him.
Misunderstood.
I am very misunderstood.
So tell me, how did you go to the Misunderstood podcast? What drove you there? And Karen, we have 5 minutes.
The Misunderstood show came about. I started writing a book after, it goes back to about 2019. I asked my ex-husband for a divorce. We were still living together. But I had asked him for a divorce several times. I really didn't want to be married anymore to him. I didn't feel like I was being treated very well. I look back now, and I wasn't being treated very well. And I felt very misunderstood. I felt like when I would try to go to my friends and family, you're going to get me in tears here.
Karen, we don't have time for tears. We have to do tears after the show.
So I felt very misunderstood because I would go to friends and family trying to explain to them what I was going through, and they just weren't hearing me. And they weren't understanding because he put on this facade like he was this great guy all the time, but behind closed doors, it really wasn't the truth. And I started writing a book about it and everything that had been going on. And I called it Misunderstood, M-I-S-S, understood. And I wanted to tell my story, why I was the way I was, how I ended up in that situation, how I started doing a lot of research and self-reflection and trying to figure out who I was and where I was going with my life, and that's when I decided to leave and take my kids. And unfortunately I tore my family apart, and it was hard on us. It was hard on my kids. It was hard on me. I loved him, I did. I fell head over heels in love with him at one point. Obviously I married the guy. I didn't marry him for any other reason, but he just wasn't the person that he portrayed himself to be, and it hurt.
So what kind of guests do you like on your show?
I ended up never finishing my book. So I decided I wanted to just help other people with misunderstandings, because I feel like there's so many misunderstandings in the world that we can get out, whether it's in your business, your personal life, whatever it is. Why not call it the Misunderstood Show, kind of after my book, The Hook? Because one day I'm going to finish my book and then it'll all come together, right?
So is it the Misunderstood Show or just the Misunderstood?
Misunderstood Show. And so
I've always put a 2 miss in there.
Yeah, just misunderstood. So I'm misunderstood. I feel like I've always been misunderstood. I feel like people judge you a lot by the way that you look or whatever they think that you are. And you shouldn't do that, because people are very different than a lot of times what you think that they are. For instance, I'm just going to throw this out there. Megan Davis.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the most misunderstood judgment I ever made in my life. I love that girl to death. And she's been such a good friend to me. And when I first met her, I saw this girl with big eyelashes and makeup and blonde hair extensions. And she's, very...
larger than life.
Yes. And I judged her as being this very bougie girl. And she's so not. She's such a down-to-earth, hard-working, caring, grinding, wonderful wife, wonderful mother, wonderful friend. Love her mom. Just real person. I thought she was fake when I met her, because I just judged her. And it was a huge learning lesson for me at such an older age that I should know better not to judge people by that. Don't judge a book by its cover. I should never have judged her. And I learned my lesson. I'm not going to judge people. It's not my job. It's not my right. You need to get to know people a little bit and give them grace and be loving and love people and love on people. And the people that are toxic, you just have to get away from them. And that's really what I wanted on my show, was to talk about things like that, like misunderstandings in people's lives, their careers. I like to have fun. I like to laugh. I like to joke. Sometimes we tell sad stories and cry a little bit. All the emotions. I think I like to be raw and real, and I like to be an open book. And I think it helps other people to be able to come on and be raw and real about their situation. I know people will come on and say, and you're going to experience this all the time, people are going to be so nervous. But
I was the first time that I was on your show.
So nervous. And people will say, you make it so easy. If you're just calm and you're easy to talk to, people are just going to open up to you and tell you their life story and their career and how they got where they are and their triumphs and their trials and blood, sweat, and tears. And because especially if you're an entrepreneur, it is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. Karen, I like to wrap up the shows on a light note, so we're going to do a really quick rapid fire. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Favorite quote in life or mantra?
Hakuna Matata.
What is always in your bag, your closing statement?
Not just a closing, but a connection.
Great. Karen, thank you so much for sitting with me today. You've got such a genuine way of lifting up people, and your story, wow, what a show is all about. And to everyone listening, we're so glad you joined us for another Front Porch Chat here at Genuine Business Stories. If you're enjoying these episodes, we'd love to have your support. We're currently looking for sponsors who believe in small business and real conversations that make a difference. Also, if you know of any businesses with a great story, someone who built something real from the ground up, have them reach out to us. We'd love to have them on the show. Thank you.
It's awesome.